Avenceva with Gallant Culture, and today I have the most distinct honor to be sitting down with probably one of the people that have had more influence on my professional career than anyone. He is considered the Michael Jordan of branding. He has touched just hundreds of the brands that you all know and love, and he's been doing that for 40 years. I've got Malandrino here, and he just launched a course, and that course is the Master Branded course. What that is to teach people exactly what branding is, how to actually build a true brand platform. And today we are going to dive in and go through just kind of a high level of this syllabus. Now, this is not a syllabus for the faint of heart. This is not a course for the faint of heart. This is for people that truly, truly want to be brand practitioners that know how to build brand fundamentals that can take a company ahead. And so with that, I want to ask you, Q, my dear friend, tell us a little bit about your background, and then answer the question that I feel like no one knows the answer to except perhaps you, which is, what is brand?
Okay. So that is boiling the ocean, but we'll get to it. So yes, I been doing that for decades. I had two companies on my own. They were both acquired, incorporated into Interbrand, which was at one point the largest branding firm in the world. Is now one of the top three largest. And I worked on many companies, with my own companies and with Interbrand, large and small. Branding as a discipline is exactly the same if you are a 1 million company or a $1 billion company. It doesn't matter. The tenets are 80% the same. 20% depends upon size, type of industry, level of maturity, and this and that. But the tenets of branding are the tenets of branding. And so I did work for a quarter of Fortune 500, or the Fortune 100, I'm sorry. At the same time, I'm proud of that as much as I'm proud of the smaller companies. Again, branding is branding. The value that it provides is the same.
And what is it?
So,
not just branding is branding. What is
yes.
branding?
Where do I start with that? There used to be, up to the mid 90s, I want to say, there was no corporate branding. The word branding was applied to products. So Coca-Cola was a brand. Campbell's Soup was a brand. The notion of corporate branding really didn't come to fruition until the mid-90s. Because of that, corporate branding for a corporation was called corporate identity. And it was about the way you look, your logo, your color, and those kind of things. And there's a whole literature and an industry around corporate identity. I was part of it, in fact. Then the notion of corporate branding came about in the mid-90s because the concept of brand as an asset valued, a valued asset, financially, economically, came into place. Interbrand, my alma mater, was a pioneer in establishing brand valuation. And so the whole discipline became from a right brain creative, put a shine on my assets, on my logo, on my airplanes, and my car, to something that had more depth. And so corporate branding was born. That coincided with the acquisition of all the corporate identity firms by the big conglomerates, Omnicom, Interpublic, WPP, Publicis, and the like. So everybody saw the light of the value of brand for corporations, not for products that existed since the beginning of branding cattle with your logo. And so the field was invaded by MBA types, great people, but left brains. And so the soft, emotional, emotive part of brand was lost for about a decade. This value of brand, the financial value of brand, dominated. And so that when you ask me what is branding, this context that is important, because somebody from a left brain can give you a definition that is about the value of branding from an economic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the brand value of a company on the stock exchange, you can argue that you take the assets and count out buildings and equipment and account for 30% of the value.
30%?
Of the stock valuation.
That's fabulous.
40, 50, 60, but not 100.
Uh-huh.
Right? So there's a portion, large or small, of intangible value in the price of a stock.
Mm-hmm.
So the Interbrand pioneered how to measure it. And so the more you strengthen the intangibles of your brand,
Mm-hmm.
the more you're valuable financially, not just as an idea. Because until then it was reputation, how good a reputation you had. Therefore, people would buy you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's more than that. There is really financial value associated with that. So what is branding? I'll give you my definition, which is holistic in nature and not related necessarily to financial value. So brand is something that you don't own. You have a company, you have your brand, you don't own it. Brand resides, that idea of what you are about, it resides in the public's mind. Jeff Bezos famously said, one brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And so the idea of what you can do is you have a business, you decide how you want to be perceived in the marketplace, operate, look, feel, and speak accordingly, put it out there, and you hope that you get their reaction from the marketplace. So they will perceive you the way that you decided it should be perceived. That means the brand is in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
You just put it out the desired persona that you want them to recognize.
So that's the management side of
Exactly.
things for
So,
all intents
and
and
then
purposes.
there's the issue of brand management. There's brand communications. There's brand implementation. There's brand maintenance. There's brand management, and finally, and this we can have a 2-hour conversation just on this word. This past year and a half,
Uh-huh.
we all started to see the searches and corporate sites for this position that is called VP of Brand Marketing. This notion of brand marketing
So
did
to
not
market
exist.
the brand,
Exactly.
which is, it's
Which
kind
is,
of like
exactly,
saying the VP
is
of
a new animal.
apple fruit, or the VP of fruit apples, or
It means
it's,
that
redundant in a certain way.
Yeah,
There's something imbued in that that's a
yes,
little bit
think of what that means. Before, you would take a business, you would imbue brand into it, so it was a
Right.
branded business. It was one thing.
Right.
But now, more and more, brand and identity expresses itself in so many ways that I'm going to promote my product features, my price, my distribution, my social stance, my sustainability beliefs, and the brand concept. So brand is being marketed outside of the reality of the company. The traditional view is that brand and business became one.
Right.
That was
right.
the whole point, the whole magic
Yes.
of branding. But now, because of the micro moments, as the Google research speaks of the rise of micro moments, the idea is to separate that. I'll promote my company, as a set of products, as a set of offerings, as well as a brand. So this detachment of what brand and business is, which I find it very dangerous.
It's interesting
can
because
argue-
it feels like you could just.
Yeah, and the issue is that why do I need to say brand marketing? If I say corporate marketing of a branded entity, that is brand marketing. So why this rise of this corporate title that did not exist before?
My
There's VP
concern
of
is
marketing,
that.
VP
yes.
of corporate comms, but now there's VP of brand marketing.
Is it to distinguish, to release accountability? Who knows? But yes, it's really
It's
interesting.
to take the shiny object of brand, what you think of me,
Uh-huh.
and make it an offering in and of itself. And I think I understand it if the VP, he or she of brand marketing, understands the absolute indivisibility of business and brand, ideally, then I can even see the brand marketing. It's about celebrating the company in its branded persona. I can see that. But if you don't quite appreciate that, then you're going to have promotions for the brand that is separate than promotion for the products. And that is where the disassociation may occur. So I think it's a dangerous. Traditionally, given my age and given that I was part of
building
physically
this, yes,
of the transition between corporate identity and corporate branding, I find it dangerous. We'll see where it's going to go.
And just kind of touching on this, it still blows my mind that I don't see a lot of outward distinction or even awareness of, and I'm not talking about the Edelmans, I'm not talking about like top notch, I'm talking about so many brand practitioners, and I don't want to get in a slippery slope, but you look on LinkedIn and it's World War III over logos and things of that nature, and a lot of the conversation is around something that I think you've trained me to say that's way down the line. So it's just fascinating to me that here we are in 2025 and we see money changing hands over goodwill, and we have seen that for forever, and yet people still do not create that distinction. Do you see it ever? Is that what this course is for, to help people create this distinction?
I welcome the broadening of the concept of brand, because if you come from sales, or if you have an MBA, or if you're a business strategy, for you, brand means X, Y, and Z. If you're a designer, it means something else. If you're a digital expert, it means something else. So according to where you sit, you see a brand in a certain way. I welcome all these different viewpoints because ideally it makes brand richer. You have famous courses, and I love Mark Ritson, and I met him, and it is one of my idols. His mini MBA in brand management is the business function of how to manage a brand. It's not about how to create it. A designer would see brand as the creation of the physical visual assets. So it's a logo, color, etc. I think that there's a piece in the middle. You take the business, you have to translate the business for consumption by the marketplace, and so you brand it in a way that the marketplace understands it and values it. And then you visualize and verbalize it. So this course is in the middle, the notion of translating business strategy into terms that the marketplace values and understands.
And that starts with planning, right?
Starts with planning.
Talk to me about planning. What are we saying? So this is, I'm going to read the syllabus, okay, and then we can see. So what it should, can, or must be, the parts, purpose, investigations, assessments, define what brand needs to do, which is a big deal, right? And then, timing, budgets, how, our current reality can help, AI tools, other things, like, so contextualize it to the now. And then if you do this, you're going to get some serious clarity. Talk to me about this.
So imagine a brand is a person. A company, is a person. In the old days of corporate identity.
But can we not talk archetypes?
No,
okay.
no, archetypes.
We're not doing that.
Archetypes and brand don't belong. No.
I mean, it's cute, but let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll talk about personality attributes a little later. So the question is the planning part. Since today, branding, and in particular corporate branding, let's can we say that this conversation is about corporate branding? Corporate branding and product branding are similar in their tenets, but the application is so largely different that this course is about corporate branding. The corporation then puts out products which are branded on their own, but they come from a branded source. So we'll talk about a little later on the relationship between a source brand and a product brand. So corporate branding, planning. Planning, it means it is a business function. You have to understand what the business is, why it exists. That's why I put purpose into planning. This discrete and precise definition of purpose may or may not need to exist in a company. Because sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes there's a higher level order. right? If I make popcorn, well, my reason to exist is to provide a snack. You can spin it and say, I provide moments of happiness. Say, whatever makes you happy in terms of spinning the reality. So, purpose, we'll talk about it. But the planning part is to understand how the company operates, what it makes, what is its future, what the chairman or the executive board has decided that they want to be in the future. And then the assessment needs to be made, how can the concept of brand help all those plans to actually take place and succeed? So brand makes a contribution to the worth of the product that the company offers. There are plenty of corporations that you can argue they're not quite branded. They operate as businesses. They have a plan, they have a strategy, they know what to sell, they sell, get revenues, grow, end of story.
Every company's branded.
Do they need brand? You need brand if you want to supercharge all of the above. Because otherwise you grow organically on the base of your sell. Whatever you sell, if you sell 100, if you sell 150, you're more successful. End of story. So there are plenty of businesses that they don't technically need brand, but need brand for one or two reasons, or both. One, to be recognized, and two, to actually be better at being recognized. So being recognized, it only takes a logo and some advertising and promotion. So I can recognize that it's you. And out of that, you develop a reputation for delivering certain things. Right? If you brand it, you go deeper. You get into the emotional part. You get into things like brand loyalty. They are less dependent on immediate satisfaction of what it is. I buy something, I'm satisfied, I'll buy it again. Brand goes deeper. It allows you the cushion that if I screw up on any minute, you don't abandon me and run to the competitor. You stay with me. Give me the benefit of the doubt, because I fulfill more for you in your life than the basic need of what it offers. We're going to have a whole conversation on why you, me, have a stable of brands in your life. Are you a Nike person or an Adidas person? Are you a Verizon person or an AT&T person?
For very different reasons.
We all have our favorite brands for a reason. And that goes beyond, because everybody makes good sneakers, everybody offers the telephony services, it doesn't matter. There's a reason why we stay with our trusted stable of brands. And then there's a secondary level that we might change here and there. So there's a whole conversation to have on how brands become part of your life.
So and I see this a lot with, kind of not early stage startups, but certainly startups, they're in this transition period, and they don't quite yet know what they are going to be. But they know what they are, but they don't yet know what they aren't. Does that make sense? How do you get prescriptive in supporting that kind of ambiguity in planning while also creating brand equity or creating a roadmap for future brand equity?
So let me answer it two ways. Let's make two scenarios. One is that you're very clear of what you want to be, regardless. If there are obstacles, you are intent in taking them down. And you run over it. Or you recognize that there are certain obstacles of who you want to be, so you change your course. Let me start with the second. Do you remember when Reebok, the first period of time that they existed, it was about fashion.
I loved Reeboks. I had Reeboks in every single color.
But when they started, they were about performance.
I don't know about that.
They were about performance. They had Shaq. They had other people. All of a sudden, they get invaded in that field of performance by Nike, by other brands, in the Under Armour, you name it. At a certain point, they were so drowned out in that field that they decided that they could not quite survive and competing with that kind of position, and they turned to be more of a fashion brand, if you will. I don't want to get into the weeds of these businesses, but that sometimes you change course, and sometimes brand strategy dictates your business strategy. Most of the time, business strategy comes first, and then you brand it to make it understandable and valuable. But sometimes brand needs to take over and to survive and to thrive. I have to do this, so you change your business to match that. So that's one case where, in answer to your question, a brand leads the business decision. Generally speaking, you ask me how you get a company to be on a certain path, brand-wise.
When they don't know what that path necessarily is.
And you do that on the basis of what will resonate better with the marketplace according to what it is that you do for a living. Competition plays a role, because one of the greatest things that I don't like in branding and of brand consultants of some stripes is when they say that one of the purpose of brand is to identify a white space. I don't buy it, because there are areas of industries where there is no white space. All spaces are taken. So the point is to find a space. If somebody is there, you do it better than the other guy. But this search of white space, where white space might not exist, it might get you in bad spots, because now maybe there's a reason that it's the white space available, because nobody should be there, because it's a bad space. So what is the point of searching for white space? You search for the space that is right for you, where you can achieve more success and therefore become more differentiated, not because one exists or doesn't. And so, to the point, how do you plan for a brand to be? When you do the program, you do two things. You assess the reality, you set the realities. You decide how can brand help the reality. At the end of the planning phase, you better be another list, which is called white paper, that says, hey, brand cannot help you here, here, and here, because brand doesn't do everything. So
And what are those things?
You identify where brand can help.
Give me 3 examples where it cannot help. Crappy products. Operational inefficiency.
Yeah.
Safety record.
Operation-
Anything. Like
the brand
it's not
can
going to
infuse,
fix
some
cancer
tenets.
in an
I'll give you an
organization.
example. Xerox. The rebranding several years ago now. The real problem there was equipment company, copiers, and they bought and merged with ACS, a consulting company. That acquisition doubled the size of Xerox. All of a sudden, Xerox, which was 100% equipment, was at the time 52% equipment, 48% services. So all of a sudden, you are known as the copier company, the document company. Then there was that evolution, but still making copiers. So the point there, it was to recognize this is generational. You don't say and spend 10 zillions company to shout to the world, I'm not an equipment company only anymore. I am an operational partner. Is generation. You're seen as the copier company.
Right.
So forget that dream. Don't pour money. Start operating in a different way.
Prove it.
And then over time, you'll be seen as such. So in that case, did brand help operations? Yes and no. No, in general. Yes, in one way. We made sure to create, as part of the brand, the kernel for brand culture, which was about internal collaboration. So the brand promise at the time was providing the right answer to the operational needs of a company. But then the internal engine for delivering the right answer was internal collaboration between functions.
I
So
see.
engineering, marketing, services, consulting. So by collaborating internally, we will be able to provide the right holistic answer to the marketplace. So in that case, brand served as the engine for this collaboration that then delivered a new business reality.
That in turn enabled their clients to collaborate
Exactly.
further, et cetera. That's beautiful.
Exactly.
That's good.
So, operation, everything that is physical it's difficult for brand to influence, like product design. Brand can have a great contribution if you are like Apple. You're focused on the human experience, and so you design things based on that. But that is the exception more than the rule. Samsung does the same thing. There are certain areas that it's a little difficult to get the human component in it. In other areas where there's retail, certainly there's people. You are an airline, certainly the behavior and the feel of your airport facilities has a lot to do. But you have plenty of businesses that don't have the kind of, if you do chemical products or the importance of brand changes if you're a perfume on one end or a doing bulk chemicals on the other. So the impact of this in perfume, 95% of your business is brand, right? If you are a chemical company, there's features, pricing, there's how you deliver it. So
macroeconomics, politics. I mean, you
so
could go on and on, supply chain, etc. Yes.
What kind of company you are, how you operate.
So, is it accurate to say that when you do have that white space or that elusive white space unicorn that people always want to say that like Steve Jobs invented this, nobody knew they wanted an iPhone, blah 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 blah. I mean, is that more elusive in the B2B realm, do you think?
It used to be the B2C. Well, the tenets of the answer, what you asked me, is between B2C and B2B, is that B2C, by definition, you have a product. You have something that I can touch and feel. In B2B is more hidden because you serve corporations that then in turn they serve the marketplace. But more and more, and that was one of the reasons of the rise of the corporate brand, is that the source of your products becomes as important as the product itself. The true B2B, and this links to the notion, how are you organized? Are you a master brand? Are you a house of brands or a branded house? We all heard that. So branded house is IBM, is IKEA. I operate with my corporate brand. Products are kind of whispered. HSBC, those are the GE by and large was a master brand. Now a little less so. Versus a house of brand, which is Tide. Do you know Procter and Gamble? It's on the back of the package. It's kind of mentioned, but you don't buy Procter and Gamble. You buy Tide. Same thing with every consumer product.
Well, and I know you taught me that very few brands or suites or taxonomies associated with brand architecture fall in those buckets. That truly house of brands or truly branded house. That it really should be a little bit less dogmatic, and I think that's interesting.
A true branding corporate needs to recognize that Unilever, Procter and Gamble, which are the like best examples of a house of brands. Right? So they have lots of brands and from this corporate source. But look at it. If you in its dealings with a Walmart, Procter and Gamble is a massive brand, and says, I got 100 products to sell you. So you operate as a master brand in institutional level, but certainly as a house of brand in the shop, in the marketplace, because you're whispered. You might not know P&G or Unilever, but you perfectly know all the products that they make. So this notion of having house of brand and branded house to be mutually exclusive is false. Especially for a large company, this model need to exist. And between these two extremes, then there's the endorsed kind. It says XYZ buy, those kind of construct. Yeah. I wrote an article once, and somebody asked me, give me an analogy of this. We can talk later on brand architecture, but let me say
tell me.
Because the analogy is funny. So you take coffee and you take milk. Right? If you have 100% coffee, it's a master brand. If you have 100% milk, kind of things are all the product brands. So to what extent you put a little milk in the coffee, right? Or you put a little more milk in the coffee. So the balance between coffee and milk is the difference between master brand and house of brands. So in the middle you got cappuccino. So you have the same presence of corporate brand and product brand. So the more you don't use milk, you have a master brand. The more you are just milk, you are an endorser. So your products stand on their own with the whispered presence of the corporate brand.
I see. So, okay, so the next piece is brand platform, which I think is a perfect segue because you were talking about cappuccino, and we didn't even talk about the fact that you're Italian and you originally started. And whenever I think of a brand platform, for some reason, not for some reason, but I remember you saying it's a brand platform, but we can call it a Parthenon, a Pantheon. I can't say it. Parthenon.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. What it denotes is what are the tenets of your brand. And the tenets of your brand is a number of components. You can call it brand platform, you can call it brand house, you can call it, it doesn't matter, it's just a term. But it's made of certain things, and you have to have certain things to have these fundamentals. Typical brand platform has a brand promise, which is those 2 or 3 cool words that can turn into a tagline or not. Just do it. Nike is a brand promise in the sense that is a tagline that makes a brand promise cool and sexy. Real brand positioning of Nike is, if you are a body, you are an athlete, and I help you. That is a brand promise. Can you put this phrase in a slogan? You can. And so they translate it and just do it.
I think that's such an interesting distinction, the difference between
sometimes
taglines
the brand
and
promise is worded that you can use it as a tagline. But I always say, when you're looking for a brand promise for the tip of the iceberg or your branded proposition, don't look for cool wording. Look for a real concept. Then if it's worded in a way that you can use it under your logo, that's perfect. Otherwise, just come up, and there's a copywriting exercise. Come up with a number of options to make that concept cool. So that's a tip of the iceberg of this brand house, this brand platform. You have to have a positioning statement. I say that it's akin of the so-called elevator pitch. So you are in an elevator ride that is short by definition, and you have 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and somebody asks, well, what do you do? And you have to have this phrase that describes your business. That's what I call a positioning statement. Typically, there's a brand story, which is a narrative, 200 to 300 words that talk about the company, and there are components to a brand story. There's a bit of reality, there's a bit of aspiration, there's a bit of promise. So we can talk a little later about that maybe. And then he has the so-called pillars. They're called in different ways. To me, what are the definition of the key parts of your business that makes you special? They're typically 3 or 4. And I never say that they need to be in and of themselves to be unique. They don't. And probably you can't make it. Maybe you can make one unique that no one else has it in your competitive set, but not 3 or 4. So the magic is to identify what makes you special and make sure that in combination it's unique. And then finally you have values, which are your behavioral tenets, how you behave. There's adjectives or nouns. Then you have personality attributes, and that dictate how you look and feel. So brand values dictate your behavior. Personality attributes dictate how you write, how your ads look like, how your logo looks like. And this platform, serves then to start doing work. So you have to design things, you have to do messaging, you have to do ads and stuff. So it's a concise definition of the components of your brand.
Do you feel like your mission and vision exist in the brand exercise, or is that a part of the business engine?
Okay. So in my brand platform, I don't have mission, I don't have vision. And I'll tell you why. Mission is a term that has been used since forever, except for the past 10 years. McKinsey in the 1970s defined mission as your reason to exist. But it sounded so corporate, and social contribution at the time and after wasn't as strong components that about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, somebody decided that on one of these days, I'm going to find out how. Simon Sinek wrote that book about 20 years ago.
Why?
Why. Starts with why. But so, to me, purpose and mission are synonym. Both of them means why I exist. Purpose sounds better. And certainly purpose has this shade of conscience. That mission sounds very stark and corporate. So I don't have mission in my brand platform because I have purpose. That replaces the word mission. I don't have vision for the only reason that if I take my purpose, if I take my brand positioning statement, if I take my brand promise, I'm pretty sure that in these three things, there's a vision in there. So I don't want to add another label. The problem with these brand platforms is that you start having this label, mission, vision, and you have to fill it in. And very soon you realize, oh, but I'm already saying that in mission. So you're forced to draw some blue water between them, and you have this complicated platform. I've done programs where the brand promise actually doubles up as a purpose. I might call it a purpose-derived brand promise, but it's one of the same. And I don't want to separate them word-wise in order to fill labels. So it depends. I don't want to be too prescriptive because it forces you down a path that then just complicates things. As part of the course, I have an examination of 10 brands that the entire world knows, from Starbucks to Nike to Patagonia and 10 of them. And I take their stated mission, vision, blah, blah, and you can see how relatively messy it is. So it doesn't mean that Patagonia is not one of the greatest brands ever. It just means that this label, you have to take it with a grain of salt and then be intelligent about more than say, here's the format, and you client, and my next client, you're going to fall into that format. It's unwise.
Yeah, I think, that's interesting because I know the whole purpose-driven side of things just got very, emboldened, kind of, I don't know, in early 2000s sort of, and one of, another person that we really admire, Roy Spence, he had purpose-driven branding, and it's not what you sell, it's what you stand for, all of these sorts of things. And for B2B, we started using purpose as kind of a larger kind of how your business impacts the world, and then your mission is why you exist as a business. And that seems to work. And what it did, and it's not always necessary, but what it did is it compelled some of our clients to get real about what their mission or purpose was, because I was seeing people say things like, to make people's lives better. It's like, okay, well, to make people's lives better, congratulations, because the opposite side of the coin is nothing that you want to spend any time doing any brand work on. So it created an opportunity for people to put forth this somewhat altruistic and often a little too indistinct piece. So again, practical. Use it practically.
In the course, I have a very precise definition of purpose and brand and what the difference is. And particularly internally, I define purpose is the reason why an employee gets up in the morning to go to work in an enthusiastic way. Brand is what he or she does 8 hours a day to deliver to the market.
I love that. So
the two coexist. One is a context for the other. Purpose is unattainable per se, because say I want to make the world better in whichever way. No company can do that because there are so many other agents that that come into place to make that august purpose to be feasible. Brand is practical. Brand is a promise that I commercialize. I design products alongside it that I deliver. That if I don't deliver, a customer will abandon me. So brand is far more practical. As conceptual as it is, it's far more practical than purpose is. You read some of those purpose statements, and it's like they're not achievable in and of themselves. They're simply not achievable, and that is
And
fine
not distinctive.
because it is and it's a context for then something a little more practical,
Right.
which becomes the branded business.
Yes. Okay, and so then now you get into brand architecture. And brand architecture is one of those things. Tell me, like, can you teach people to be really great at it?
Yes,
Okay.
because
How?
you by understanding it.
Okay.
And so brand architecture, so you have this conceptual basis, the brand platform, your aspiration, your plans, how you want to be perceived. Okay, at some point this thing the rubber needs to hit the road. It starts with brand architecture, how you go to market. That's what brand architecture is.
Wait, it doesn't start with the logo and the colors and the this and the that?
No, there's no
I
logo
know,
and
I know.
colors yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
So
because
calm
you
down,
have these
everybody.
concepts.
Yes.
You can do some parallel paths, right? So if you have a startup,
Uh-huh.
the brand development process is very linear. It's
Uh-huh.
A, B, C, D. You don't do D before C, and it's very linear. But that's not real life. Every kind of company is a running concern. A train is running, and you have to optimize it while it's running. So, but the reason that I'm saying you have this conceptual basis and you have to go to market is because how do you shape your proposition in a way that, and that is a big difference, it's not by brand architecture is not about telling you what I sell, right? It's about telling you here how I can fulfill your needs via my products and services. You can say that they get to the same place, but not quite, because the perspective is hugely different. If you think about how can I best say I make this, and this, how can I best put it out there, it discounts how they actually buy, because they might not be buying what you sell. So you need to reorganize the way that your proposition goes to market based on how they buy, what they buy, how they buy it. And there's a critical distinction which also dictates a difference between portfolio management and brand architecture, with which everybody has an MBA confuses the two.
Okay, tell me.
Because by definition, they think it's about optimizing what it is that I do in order to sell it. It's not that dry. I've done programs, and actually you were part of one, where the go-to-market was based on product categories.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I make, and I'm telling you, here's what I make. Come and get it. As opposed to say, let me understand what it is that you buy and how, because sometimes you buy different products together as a system, and so not individual. And let me orient my go-to-market according to your perspective. My best analogy of brand architecture is imagine that in your house you have a closet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The closet has all your clothes. So compare that to a company, and in that closet there are all that the company makes.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the closet, your closet, it's a little messy. It's got pants there, it's got shirts there, it's got jackets. It may be the stuff that's a little old, or something that you never had time to fix, but it still sits there. So the first step in brand architecture is to clean up the closet. So throw away things that you have. That's what you do in phase one in planning. You go in the closet and see what it is that you have. You haven't worn something in 10 years, out of the door it goes. This is broken, but you would use it if it wasn't broken, so you go fix it. So that's step one, clean up the closet in those stuff. Step two, it's an organization, and that is still not based on what people buy. So it's not based on you going out of the door yet. but it's based on saying, how could I organize that? Should I put all the pants here, all the shirts there, all the jackets there, all the shoes there?
One time I
Not
walked in.
necessarily. You can you can do something different. You can have a section or your closet that is professional clothes to go to work, sports clothes when I go play tennis or golf. Right? I can have formal wear here. So you can organize your closet in a different way. Now, imagine now that in a corporation you're actually selling all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how do they buy? So now the analogy, it's not a closet anymore, but it's a department store. So you go to Nordstrom, what do you see? You get in, you have some basic categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a women's floor, women's clothing, women's shoes, men's, you have children, right? But then what do you see? You go into the men's store, you see all shoes there, but what do you see also? You see the Armani boutique,
Mm-hmm.
Valentino, you have Prada and Zegna. So a department store organizes their wares according to how you buy. Because if it was simply telling you what it is that I do, every department store would have shoe department, pants, women's pants, but that's not ideal in terms of selling, obviously. But it's amazing how corporations, so many times, that's exactly how they go to market, according to what I make. And it's so short-sighted. Because department stores have this science in spades,
Right,
and
right.
they're perfect. To the point that what do they have? The first thing that you see in the department store, the cosmetics
Cosmetics,
department.
because it's the most consumable.
Exactly.
You can walk into a
And
cosmetics
because
section and you can buy
more
it for
women
$50. Yeah.
arguably do. So that is a perfect example of brand architecture. A department store is optimized according to who's buying, how they're buying, how often they're buying, and that also the salespeople are organized along the same way. I don't want to get too far because we will talk about brand culture, but the optimization of the selling floor, and every organization in the world that sells something has a selling floor of certain kind. Just so happened that a supermarket or a department store is physical. Right?
It's such a good analogy.
But can you imagine that a Sephora without this beauty obsessed ladies? It's part and parcel with the optimization of the selling floor in terms of categories. You get branded, but also you have by type of products. So this all going to market, whether you have a physical presence in a store or not. If you're a software company, you don't have a store, and so but still the same principle need to apply. How it is that they buy, why, how.
And how they can envision
And
themselves
align
leveraging.
all
Yes.
that.
I keep laughing because I remember one time I needed help organizing my closet, and I hired somebody to do it, and I walked in and they had quite literally put all of my clothes together by color, and it took me forever to be able to find, like, to dress in the morning, because it's like, do I want to wear the green ball gown or do I want to wear the green tennis shoes? And it was all together, and it was just like totally useless to any functionality. I think in particular with B2B, it's just absolutely vital to make it absolutely as pleasant and easy as possible to enable people to put on the garment that they need to put on to be able to leverage whatever it is that you're.
And there are products and services, and in brand architecture, I have this tier system.
Mm-hmm.
So you take all your clothes, all your assets,
Uh-huh.
and you divide it in 4 tiers. So tier 1 is a corporate tier. Tier 2 is your products.
Mm-hmm.
Tier 3 are the ancillary, such as program technologies, things that you don't actually sell, but they exist in support of the products. Tier 4 are your third-party relationships, sponsorship, joint ventures, co-development, co-marketing. Mm-hmm. The company makes money. The company exists because of tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the revenue-generating assets. If they don't sell things, you don't have a business. And so by dividing all pants or
Yeah.
in certain way, then you can start making sense of what it is that you have, what overlap might exist, how tier 3 helps the sale of tier 2, how tier one, the source brand, your corporate brand, helps in lending the products in tier two the value that they say, I buy this thing because it's made by.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that kind of relationship is absolutely critical.
Okay, and then the who, the marketing persona. Okay, so I'm gonna read
Sure.
back what
Yeah,
the
so
what this
so
says.
let me give you
Okay.
the segue to
Mhm.
that, because you asked earlier, what about the logo? So I can design a logo, a corporate logo, the colors, the product logos, etc. If I don't know how I'm going to market, that's why brand architecture
Or
comes
who
first.
you're marketing to.
Exactly. So you have this conceptual basis, so I know how I want to come across, I have my basics. Then with brand architecture, that's how I go to market. Once I've done that, then now I know
Mm-hmm.
that I need this type of logos. If I'm a master brand, I have one logo,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so there are implications of having one logo for everything. But if I'm not, then okay, I need the corporate logo. I need that logo to serve as an endorser to my product. I need that logo to be one part of a joint venture with a partner. I need that logo to serve as an anchor for my programs and methodologies. A marketing construct. What's a marketing construct? In talent side. It's not a product. It's
Mm-hmm.
a marketing idea,
Mm-hmm.
which we can spend 5 minutes because it's absolutely fascinating how revolutionary in talent side was. Should I talk for 60
Yes.
seconds
Yes.
on it?
Yes. Of course.
So in talent side, everybody knows that. It was invented in the 80s by the genius marketing head at Intel. And that's a microprocessor that sits inside your computer. It's an indispensable. A computer does not work without a microprocessor. It's not like NutraSweet that you can have coffee without that, or you have alternative like sugar. No, a microprocessor is, if it's not there,
The fact that we even
that's not it.
know the
So-
name of a
exactly.
microprocessor
So
and
they
it's Intel.
said,
Yeah.
they said to computer manufacturers, Dell, HP, at the time it was Compaq and all of that. They said, hey, why I give you the chip, right? Why don't you carry my brand Intel inside at the bottom of your ad, and put a little sticker on the machine. In exchange, I'm going to pay 50% of your advertising expenditure on a yearly basis. The finance department at Dell, at Compaq said, this is a gift from the heavens. We save hundreds of millions of dollars. The market, until they embraced it. The marketing people, pretty soon, they start saying, wait a minute, you know what that means? It means
Yeah.
we're telling the marketplace, all these computers are just stupid boxes. So a Dell is as good as a Compaq, as good as IBM. The only difference is that you have Intel Inside. So Intel Inside flattened the brand value of all these computers manufactured because they became all stupid boxes. The only thing that counted does you have Intel Inside. Other people jump on the bandwagon like AMD, other microprocessor companies. So Intel Inside became these standards because it was a financial drug
Mhm.
for companies that couldn't do without the savings, but a marketing anathema
Mhm.
because it flattened out the value of
It's
that
so incredible.
manufactured box. So going back to brand architecture, I took a little less than 60 seconds, but not that many more seconds. Intel Inside is a marketing construct, so this sits in tier 3.
Mhm.
So do you have that? It becomes also an ingredient brand. So
Right.
Intel is an ingredient of the Dell computer, different types of ingredients. So all of that sits in brand architecture in that tier. So what other assets do you have that are valuable, or you can make valuable as part of your arsenal of products? So that loyalty programs in the department store, a part of it. It's not that I buy the loyalty program. It exists to help me buy more products from you.
Mhm.
And there's a whole slew of types of methodologies and programs that are absolutely key to the selling of physical product, where you get the money from.
Mhm.
And many times companies, they are so focused on selling you the product on the basis of its features and its characteristics that they forget how much a branded proposition can help sell the one product by adding intangibles to it. But all this needs to be planned. needs to be organized. And to the point is, do I start designing? No, hold on. I have to decide all of it, so I can design what's necessary.
That to me is one of the things that people, I mean, they'll just skip right over it, and it's unfortunate because you 100%, if you're not intentional with brand architecture, you're going to end up cleaning up a mess later. I don't care how fabulous your company is, but
And so can I?
yes,
Can I have a 15 seconds now?
you can have all the
Segue.
time in the world.
Because
I am.
that is critical to what this. I created this course this way because the clients, typically in this era of attention or short attention span, I want results next quarter. They recognize that business people, right? So they recognize the importance of reality. So you consultant, you had to do phase one. You had to understand my business. You had to know. You had to understand my competition. Maybe find me a white space or something. But then once you've done that, then give me the shiny object. On the basis of that, give me the logo, give me the campaign, give me the banner ads, a new website. But this thing in the middle, they understand two parts: the brand platform and brand architecture, go to market. Brand platform, they understand that. Just at the end of phase one, you just have a left brain summary report of realities. You do have the little important thing: how can brand help? So they get it. They need to have a slogan. They need to have some kind of brand belief. So, they understand that that's needed. Brand architecture, many times it get bypassed. And so the importance of these fundamentals, a true brand platform that is not just a sloganish something. We can talk more about the difference of the slogan, as I said, Airbnb, a new way to a hotel versus belong anywhere. It has more depth. And then brand architecture, that they get kind of flown over. So they might give you 2 months to do phase one and the report. They want the shiny object. So the consultants many times are forced, either they're forced or they want to go to the shiny object themselves, to do something real quick on these brand fundamentals so that they can get to the shiny object. Unfortunately, particularly from a consulting firm, the brand platform is a finite fee. It's not that a brand platform for a different kind of company, it's the same amount of work. It costs X. It serves as a springboard for everything else. Brand architecture can be real complicated for a complex company. You need time and you need money. Many times companies don't want to do that. And so you jump to the shiny object and jump to the logo and the color. So everybody gets excited. And the chairman can go out and say, here it is, we did this and this. You see on LinkedIn all the time. The leading with the shiny object, I think that has always been a curse of this business. As of late, this past 2 years, from the Jaguar introduction to the Cracker Barrel, as of late, and everything in between, including Walmart, including Amazon, beautiful programs. But these companies have led with the new logo, and you see these thousands of comments on LinkedIn, and what you spend $1 million from going to this logo to this logo, you just change the color, and it's so unfair because it's not that. So that's the problem with shiny objects. They get judged on that basis. I always say, introduce the brand in your operations, the shiny object. Wait 6 months. Do that a little later, unless you have a reason to make a visual splash in the marketplace because you need to announce something. But those are signals of a change. But lead with the operational change.
Right. Yes.
Amazon's, they revolutionized their entire communication. They did a beautiful job with the help of a beautiful agency. And everything looks fresh. Everything looks great. Same thing with Walmart. But this announcement, we evolved the logo and put all the new to the person in the street. They look identical. So don't even bother saying that you touch the logo, because you invite this comment. What, are you serious? And it's just like, But the real work was very, very meaningful. Jaguar is a different
That's a different
story altogether.
Yeah.
A company that was dying, and they decided to change everything. And Cracker Barrel, I think they are doing this operational work, beefing up the menu, the restaurant. But then the logo went a little too far.
I
in my
don't even
opinion.
know, because to
But-
me the brand essence is exactly the same. It's just for this context of today. It feels just as, you know, it feels like a Cracker Barrel. I don't think they've lost sight of who they are, but I don't want to talk about. I mean, Cracker. Anyway.
But so the importance of these two parts, which are key to my course, concentration on the brand platform and the brand architecture and everything that is contained in there, which is also culture and other things, is the difference. Because if you bypass that, then you come up with this dry basis out of phase one, and you give it to the creative and say, this dry thing, make it sing now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As opposed to say, I'm going to take this dry thing, I give it life, and then I'll give it to the creative. If you're having success with a shiny object made of a dry basis, imagine how much success you could have with this dry basis, made it richer, and then made it sing.
Yes.
That you don't have to keep shining that up, because if it's a stone, you better shine it up every day, and that costs millions in cost.
Yes.
But if you have something that in and of itself is rich, yeah, you shine it up, but it's got life in and of itself. So a new way to a hotel, you have to keep shining it up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get belong anywhere, even the word, the concept itself is rich enough that, you always need to polish
Let's
things.
can we talk about that a little bit? So, Airbnb.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. So,
So
what is
this
that?
is
Talk about that distinction.
It's a bit unfair, and so is Uber,
Mhm.
right? So this is not like a new hotel brand. It's
Mhm.
not a new transportation brand. It's a disruptor, truly. Take an established business to travel by paying someone and turn it on its head, and have private people use their cars. In the case of Uber. Hotel business or other rentals, you turn it on its head by saying, go live in an apartment, right?
Mhm.
So this is important, because not every business is a disruptor. In fact, 99% of businesses are not disruptors. And so it's almost an unfair example to take Airbnb as an example of branding. But forget for a second the fact that it's a disruptor, because the same tenets apply if you are a new airline, and there are dozens of airlines out there already. So you have to come up with something brand-wise that goes deeper into the root of what it is that you offer to the marketplace. So brand-wise, Airbnb could have come up with a brand promise that it's a new way to a hotel.
Mhm.
It suggests, right? Because it is.
Mhm.
But I can come up with 10 other phrases.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that as an example. So this phrase announces that there's something different.
Mhm.
And then I'll tell you, I do, and go to an apartment and go to a castle and whatever
Mhm.
the offerings are. But if my brand promise, I go deeper into that. So that's I take the reality, and then I ask comms to make that dry reality, because
Mhm.
that's all it is. It's a verbal spin on reality, make it shiny, and so comms and whatever else. But now I don't do that. I go further. I go deeper into the meaning of my company, and I'm going to say belong anywhere. Now that means that it includes a new way to hotel, but it's got 100 more things in it,
Mhm.
in that concept.
Right.
And so it means, first of all, it creates permissions. Belong anywhere, it means that I can sell you, special theater tickets in that city.
Mhm.
I can give you some special things, because now my proposition is let you enjoy your vacation more than like a tourist,
Mhm.
as you do when you go in. You're a local. You become a local. I'll let you become a local anywhere you might go. So there's so much value in my proposition. And certainly I'll promote it. But now I'm asking the creative shine up something that is already shining in and of itself.
It's just
So
reinforcing.
it's far
yeah.
more powerful. You know.
It's beautiful.
Same thing. I have in a slide in the course that takes 6 companies, and it's got known companies. It takes Starbucks. Right? Starbucks went to 2 positionings, and let me talk about in a second. For Starbucks, if you want to just spin the reality, you just say best coffee enjoyment or palette or whatever. You take the reality and make it cool. So they started the 2 main positionings of Starbucks. One was the 3rd place. So you have home, you have office, and Starbucks. I'm your 3rd place. It was for about 20 years. That was the proposition from a brand standpoint. What does that mean? Imagine the operational implication that this promise has. Now I had to give you couches, because if I'm the 3rd place, you gotta be comfortable. I have not to kick you out. If you order a glass of water, I just stay 3 hours. Clean bathrooms, a variety of drinks and snacks. Internet access. That I worked on that Centrino with Intel. They started to give internet access to Starbucks. So those were the requirements of the brand to be your 3rd place. What happened in society? Now, everybody has internet at home. No one, the other implication operationally of the 3rd place was I had to have a store every 3 blocks.
We had
That's why
4 Starbucks on one corner,
Exactly,
right down
absolutely.
the street.
So the brand required
Is that right?
operations to
Yeah,
have
4
that. I
Starbucks.
can't be your 3rd place if you got to travel 20 minutes to get to me. But see what's happening as of late, this past 5, 6, and a little more, 5 or 6 years. The transition of society, or how it works, they went, no one had time to sit 3 hours in a cafe. And so they moved to this notion of daily inspirations. Daily inspiration means you got a busy life wherever you go, step into a Starbucks, take a breather, that's your daily inspiration. What are the operational implications? Online ordering. So you can come in and out. I can have smaller stores with no couches. There are plenty of Starbucks now that there are little holes in the wall because you come in and out. So the repositioning of that from a 3rd place to daily inspiration had operational implication. There was never this online order with Starbucks. It's fairly recent.
Well, and then too, it expanded out their market because, I mean, my 13-year-old finds not daily inspiration, but she finds inspiration quite frequently at Starbucks, and she does not need a 3rd place to go, but she's definitely going to Starbucks and getting her little flu frappuccino, whatever.
Now,
so.
the new chairman of Starbucks, because the whole thing, having 1 million stores is expensive. Having couches, it means larger places, longer leases or more expensive leases. So a lot of promise. So he's now reorganizing some detractors and said that it's going too far, and that sometimes companies, as they did with Cracker Barrel, sometimes they kill certain things. They're quirks of what's one quirk of a Starbucks? Is they misspell your name on the cup. But that's endearing. You don't change that. Do you know with my name, it's Quirino, but
Everybody calls you
can
Q.
pronounce it. Everybody calls me Q. I don't say Q because I used to get K-W, H-U-G-H on my cup. And I always thought that it was cute. But then, I got tired of that because they would ask me how you spell. So my Starbucks name is Jim.
Jim.
Oh, yeah. I'm
You're
Jim
not
now.
a Jim. You're not a Jim.
But still, there are certain things in your
What's
history.
just a second? What's the Italian? Is it Giacomo? What is the James in Italian or Jim?
James Giacomo.
Giacomo. Okay, you could pass for Giacomo. I could see that. Yeah. So then market personas. Here we go.
So once you have, you have the business, you decide a brand can help, create a brand foundation, create the go-to-market. Now you have to visualize and verbalize it. The market persona is made of three things: verbal components, visual components, behavioral components. And so you have verbal identity, messaging, slogans, memes. Visual identity are logos and colors and typography. Behavioral is brand culture. So how do you live the brand? It's a whole complicated thing because you can live the brand internally. I have no customer contact, but you create material for the outside, and so you have to be cognizant of it. And then you have the market facing people, salespeople, retail. If you have retail, so the market persona is made of three things: visual, verbal, and behavioral. And so you have to design things, you have to write things, messaging frameworks, and all of the above. So that are the components of market persona. Just like a person. That's why it's called market persona, because a person speaks, looks in a certain way, and behaves in a certain way.
So let's talk a little bit, and
Very
this is going to
simple,
be a
really.
little bit controversial. And I do think that I do like Jungian stuff. I do think it's interesting. I think it's just enough woo-woo. But have you seen a brand that is so flat in terms of its multifaceted nature that it can truly fall into one archetype or another? Or
No.
do you think it needs to, because that's my beef
So-
with the whole,
Yeah.
kind of,
So just a note on the archetypes. On LinkedIn and other platforms, you see that those are the type of brands. So just pick. So you're a jester. I forgot what the things. So first of all, Carl
Sage,
Jung
yes.
did not do that. That's but feel free, for everybody that's listening, feel free to actually, Google it and say he had something to do with that, but then somebody else created that, and then someone else, as of late.
oh, I'm not saying that
decided-
Carl Jung was a brand strategist. I'm saying that he
I
had
know.
certain
Yeah, someone
that were
I don't
part
know,
of
I
the
wanna say
collective
10 or 15 years
consciousness
ago,
and stuff.
associated these personality traits to
Right.
brand. And
Right.
so now there are, if you Google it, there are exhibits that says here are the what are they, 15 or 12, 15, and they attach brands.
Right.
So the jester is
And
Disney
it's
is
just
the
wrong.
jester.
It's just wrong.
And
I'm sorry.
Apple is the Nike is the hero, and I say, why? First of all, I have like a dozen different counters to that. One of the major ones is, are you telling me that there are 12 types, and your brand needs to fit one of the 12? It's unreasonable because there are 100 behavioral and personality traits. So why assume that to 12? So you gotta pick and choose who I am in this 12. It's silly. Honestly, it's silly. The other thing is that a brand can be more than one of those 12 anyway. So what use do you have of that other than say, I'm too lazy to
It's a
come up with
shortcut.
personality attributes,
It's
I'm
a
going to
shortcut.
pick one of those. What is the point?
Yeah.
Really? And the worst thing is that you go to a client and say, you are a jester. If I were the client, I would say, there's a door, please go. Because I'm far more complicated than one type. And in fact, I might be, if you will, a jester here, but a hero here in my company according to what I sell, if it's my institutional relationships versus my retail relationship. So that I cross out.
I just
this
I just think
archetype.
it's a little
I
bit
used
of
to comment on LinkedIn quite a bit with because I get mad.
Yeah, like,
I stopped
okay,
doing
here it
that.
comes.
I said, okay, I bypassed my comment on that. Enough on that.
Yeah. Well, so then we touched a little bit on what you look like, what you sound like, and how you live. So your sixth unit in your syllabus is one of my favorites, behavior and culture. And I think it's cool, and I love behavior and culture because I don't think that there is a more powerful brand asset than the people that spend 40 hours a week living and breathing your brand and are so vested that they depend on your brand to feed their children. So that's why I've always put an emphasis on that, and you've always encouraged that. And so talk to me a little bit more on about that.
So first, a general overview. There are brands that you choose because of their behavioral aspect. I don't, you tell me as a woman, what importance do they have, the sales ladies at Sephora versus another cosmetic brand that you might have? You can argue that I like that kind of behavior when I step in the store or not, I go somewhere else.
I think that's a great point, because Sephora, actually, they have salespeople of every gender, and and I like that because you get so many different perspectives and so forth, and they've made it a point. So that's a perfect
example. I look at a Genius Bar at Apple. I love talking to these guys and these ladies because to a T, they really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I never had this, and I'm an Apple fanatic since the Apple IIe in 1984. So I always bought everything the Apple ever made. And the Genius Bar in all these years, well, since they opened, so it's more recent than the 1980s. I never had anyone telling me, interesting question, let me ask my colleague. Ever. These people know everything. These people, you want to answer, you get used of these people. Have you had this experience? I mean, these people really know what they're talking about. Same thing in a different way at Home Depot. The guys with the orange apron. I mean, I go to the electric aisle. The guy is a former
He's
electrician.
an electrician. Yeah.
So I didn't have the same thing at Lowe's. At Lowe's, they're a little more generalized. So I tend to go to Home Depot because of that. You might argue that you like the chatty barista at Starbucks. It's a little more institutionalized. In the beginning, they were chatty, and they, was a little different. So, point is of the behavior, three parts: the market, persona.
You know what? Just put real quick,
right?
because I just want to give props out to the Trader Joe's folks in my neighborhood.
Trader Joe's.
Like, I really want to be friends with all of them. I want them to come to my parties. I want them to hang out. I love them so much. And I don't know if it's my particular Trader Joe's, but you've got this seemingly, different group of people that they couldn't otherwise be more different. And their ability and desire to connect around community, and the heart of that community is this store. It's just magnificent. I love it. I love it so much. It makes me happy to go there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's it's different, and we all have different experiences. It depends also on what kind of people. If you go to a Verizon store or to an AT&T store, I was a customer of AT&T for 20 years. Then I had an argument over $417.
And they lost it.
They just wouldn't budge. And I had my business at two companies. I had personal, and I at the end I was talking to the managers because I was a Karen. I said, yeah, let me talk to your manager, and then I didn't get satisfaction. Let me talk to your manager. So I went for. They didn't give me the time of day for $417. They lost a 20-year customer, and I went to Verizon. Very happy. I did some work. It was my client for a couple of years. And if you go to a Verizon store and to go to AT&T store, I found at AT&T they were very technically oriented, and this phone has got this feature, this plan has this feature, so very technical. As opposed to the Verizon salespeople, they tended to see, how do you live? Do you call your daughter in college a lot? So they dealt with me in terms of my lifestyle more than my technical needs as they were at AT&T. You might like one or the other. But that's the importance of behavior. What do you feel comfortable more? So having said that as an approach to culture, not every client, every company has retail. And so
I think it's even more so important in kind of like a high stakes business sale.
When
or
I had
something like
Xerox for a client for about 5 years, the whole repositioning and the whole re-identification for the visual brand and cultural. Do I talk? Yeah, if my copier breaks, I have to call, not mind the consulting business. So some companies you have less this behavioral contact than in others. But the behavior is important because maybe on a B2B side, so on the corporate account of Xerox, how does the Xerox company behaves toward that client? So it's not a one-to-one as AT&T or Starbucks or Home Depot. It's different kind of corporate behavior. But that behavior needs to be institutionalized, so the company moves as the employee types in a certain way. When we do brand culture, there's this notion of behavioral map. So brand value. So you have a brand, you have brand story, you have brand promise. So you have to deliver it. You deliver it among other things with your people. Who are your people? There are people that develop products, people that write communication, salespeople that have customer contact. So how do you align all that? You do this behavior map. You translate the brand into desired behavior, and you slice and dice it according to who you are. So a behavioral map for salespeople, behavioral map for engineers, etc. So that the whole thing moves in one direction in different ways, though, because certainly if you design products, you're not the same kind of operation than if you sell things. So culture has a lot of things, and it operates the way that I do it on three parts in terms of implementation, since it's internal, right? So brand culture, you have to inform your employees. So tell them this is what it is. You have to engage them. So you do training and education to let them live the brand and what they do. And then you have to align operational rewards programs and all of that with the tenets of brand. The big lie in brand culture in the branding industry is that you come up with this ideal behavior and that is, here it is, next Monday, that's who you are. Do you think that a human being behaves like that? Human being is a human. You have shy people, you have aggressive people, you have all kinds of people. So it doesn't work that way. So the direction of the brand value are indications. So then you have to massage, and then HR takes over since they own the employees, and they have to do training and education, respect the individuality, and so on and so forth. So brand culture, of all the three things, verbal, visual, and behavioral, it's by far the most, the lengthier, and then this recruitment involved, and so choosing the right people. So then visual and verbal are easy. You just design something, you write something, you run it, that's the end of it. As complex as it is, it's really easy.
It is the easiest.
The behavioral part is.
Yes, yeah. And so then we've touched on messaging and visual identity. I'm really curious because I know the other day we were talking about just how you were learning how to write and how to speak English and all of this sort of things. And you're one of the best English language writers I've ever read. And I find it interesting. I want your perspective on the power of words and the nuances of words, and when you want to kind of dial that up and dial that down, and how you would get prescriptive with that. And then after that, I want to hear about kind of the verb. I always like to hear what Italians think about design and what Italians think about, and I know you started your career that way. So
the verbal part. Thank you for the compliment. Writing well. Good thing that the writing doesn't have an accent, because that's why my writing is more appreciated than my words, because it's stripped of that aspect. But no, all joking aside, messaging. So the words is how you communicate in many ways, right? Behaviorally, verbally and visually. Verbal is important. Those are words, scripta, verba fugit, and scripta manent. They say in Latin that what's written stays, and what's
say it again.
said,
I'm sorry. Say it. Say it in a way that I can repeat it back.
Now I'm getting
verba
embarrassed. Verba manent. No, scripta and I did study. I'm from Rome, and I did study Latin. Verba fugit scripta manet.
Verba fugit
fugit,
scripta
manet.
manet. Verba fugit
Yeah.
scripta manet.
So words are air, they escape.
Okay.
Scripta, the
words
writing
is
stays.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what's the point.
verbas. Oh
So,
gosh. Okay.
so when you write something and put it in writing as permanent, it's direct, and you can have interpretation, but it is what it is. So messaging, that's what it is. It's what a company says. It's almost complicated because you have to account for what you say, to whom, where, and when. So there are 4 parts of messaging.
What you say,
How you
say it, to
where,
whom, and when.
Yeah.
Okay.
So part of messaging, some are part of media planning. Where you say is part of the different channels and venue. So what you say is dry. What it is that you intend to say about yourself. Some things are philosophical in nature, purpose, brand. Other things, product communication, needs to be factual. How you say it is what is called tone of voice. So you can be friendly, you can be light and funny. If you are Ben and Jerry, certainly you have a different tone of voice than if you are IBM, right? Ice cream and software. So you create the so-called messaging framework, which organizes the gist of your messages according to who you say it, and then tone of voice gives it the flair. Can get real complicated in a company that had many different divisions that do different things. That gets extremely granular, because you can wrap the reality of the business in brand. Then at the end of the day, I give you money, I write a check for your services for what I actually get. So I need to know. And this in B2B is extremely complicated. In B2C, it's easy. I can sell you a pair of shoes. Why? Because you look cool. You look cool. 3 words, and you give me money. Try to do that in B2B.
No, because
I gotta give
you are going to be making decisions
so many
that
details.
could kill people.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Exactly.
that can destroy the planet. That can that can open an entire new market. And every single one of those things has so many different layers
in short,
of complexity.
I always say, in B2C, brand can be in and of itself the selling proposition. You look cool. End of story. In B2B, brand is an influencer. So corporate purchasing manager that might be influenced by your brand, so it gives you consideration. The whole marketing funnel, right? Consideration to then choice. But at the end of the day, he or she, in purchasing in a corporation, needs to justify that millions of dollars that he or she is spending for this software vendor versus another one. So brand can influence you there. In B2B, brand can be it. Absolutely.
Yep. B2C.
B2C, sorry.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, and so then you move into what everybody seems to be absolutely crazy mad nuts about, and if they've ever designed a logo, they're brand strategists, and congratulations, brand identity.
The visual part. So
Yeah.
so that's
Or sorry, the visual.
that's how
part.
you look for a person.
Uh-huh.
You see me from 100 feet away. You don't see my behavior. You don't hear what I say. You can certainly see how I look. So that's important of it. That you present yourself. So you have to present yourself in a given way. What is a given way? To me, is dictated by the brand platform and by the personality attributes. Who do I need to look like if I'm a software company, if I'm a disruptor, if I'm an airline? And then each type of category has its implications. So if I'm an airline, I have to put something on the tail of the plane. Vertical stabilizer, I'm sorry, there's not called tail. If I am a car, I have to put something on a hood. So that I in certain industries has certain needs. Having something on the hood, it means that probably I need a symbol, not just a logotype. Even people that have logotype like Volvo, they also have a symbol, because a logotype is a little clunky to be used in the middle of the wheel. You can have a symbol in there. and that symbol needs to rotate so it can wobble. So when you design that symbol, and I did this kind of things in the automotive industry for Ford and Mazda, you have, in the old days, you would put the symbol on a pin, on a push pin, and you would rotate, and you would see if it will wobble or not.
That's so interesting.
Now you do that on a computer because you can animate it. Because if it goes like that, then you have to adjust the proportions. You have to have something in the middle on a steering wheel. So other companies don't have that. Identity programs can be extremely complicated or extremely simple. Take an airline. The brand program is so easy because there's nothing brand-wise. Yeah, you can say Delta says, you rise above, and United says. At the end of the day, they take you fast from one place to another. But try to do an identity program for an airline. I work on Saudi Airlines, Air Canada. The complexity of the identity program, you have to have this logo big on an airplane. You have to be real small on a ticket or a boarding pass on your phone, and the logo is this big. You have to have that on signage. You have to have in the lounge, and you have on napkins. The complexity is immense. But brand-wise, conceptually, especially then if you're a flag carrier, the only complexity is to be true to your culture. If you are Air France, you have France in your name.
Be French.
Kind of look French. Same thing with British Airways.
Yeah.
Same thing when I did Saudi Airlines. It's Saudi Arabia, and so you got to have that feel. But brand-wise, it's really not that complicated. And other companies are extremely complicated brand-wise, and the identity system is real simple. You don't have that many pieces. But the point is how you look. Be recognizable. Be kind of unique. Be somewhat entertaining. Be noticeable. You can name. But
what about filtering? So you mentioned that somebody sees you from far away. They don't quite know what you do. But they're moving towards you. What about creating signals that that compel people to move away from you, so that your brand is essentially a mechanism that creates filtering of your customers? Yet another reason why you need to do all of the preliminary work first.
If you don't want certain kind of customer,
Right.
That's what you mean?
That's why you have to, because I see people saying, oh, well, this looks good. This looks interesting. This looks flashy. This looks unique. And I'm grossly oversimplifying here, but that may not necessarily be what your customers are, what the customers that you want to have, as part of your ecosystem, that may not be what they want. So
It might be
getting a little bit more nuanced.
It might be a little bit of self-segmentation. Right? So if going back to a person, right? So how you look, say your suit, right? Well, if I'm dressed like a business person, maybe a 20-something, digital creator, it probably wouldn't be interested to me because I don't, I'm not going to fit with his world, his or her world. So I think that takes care of itself, either on the basis of appearance or on the basis of the character that I am as an onlooker. Might be on the basis of price, that you don't want to get close to me because I'm going to be too expensive, and in that category you have no intention to do that. Take hotels. How do a hotel look? Some hotel brands look a little more friendly than others that look very kind of stuffy. So that tells you.
I just feel like there's so much opportunity in the B2B space for that that is just not being leveraged.
Yeah. For me, the way that I ever done visual identity is, and this is true also in the field of evolutions, right? Because that persona needs to keep up with the times. I've done about close to 20 logo evolutions. Many of them you wouldn't know, but I've done a ton that you don't. I did Johnson & Johnson, Intel, Xerox, Colt.
Ryder Cup, which was a big one.
I'm sorry?
Ryder Cup.
Ryder Cup, control data. So I've done a lot of important ones. And so when I hear and I see the Cracker Barrel and the Jaguars and all that, I kind of know what I'm talking about. I don't know about a ton of things in life, but this is something that I know. And so, there's a degree to which you stray from who you were, and it's a classic bath water. Don't throw out baby with the bath water. And where was I going with that?
That the nuances are important.
Yeah. And so you have to stay recognizable. Like Verizon just went through a rebranding. I have that in my course. A very famous person and firm did the original Verizon when they changed from the old 9X, etc. Became Verizon. Beautiful. You would recognize the system from a mile away. Because it was black and red, very stark. It's beautiful, bold typeface, and it was a beautiful identity. As of late, last year, in fact, they scrapped all that because it was too cold. It didn't have any warmth. It was very reliable. I know I can rely on it. Evidently, they decided, and Verizon was my client for 4 or 5 years ago, so I wasn't part of this latest. And they went to something really colorful, very people and happy and smiley, and they killed the little V that had different colors, a little highlight on one of the letters of the logotype. So sometimes you want to change because you have decided that you want to appear more or less of something. It's a conscious decision. There's always a risk. And we've seen as of late some of this logo evolution, what disaster I created. It's not right or wrong. You have to create what constitutes baby and what is bathwater, and go here and here. At the Ryder Cup, they had 2 logos every 2 years, a competition, right? Run in Europe and in the United States. So there were 2 logos, somewhat similar, but 2 logos. So part of it was the unification of the brand that would create opportunity, global sponsorships, and lots of money was being left on the table. So that we created this new logo, and actually the logo expiration was on the basis of a range, close to the original, revolutionary, the future. And we made this presentation, and we chose something. The logo that exists today for the Ryder Cup was right smack in the middle of the range. It was based on equities and history, but it was modern. It was more flexible because we had to apply that to Team Europe and Team US and youth and these programs. So it was brand architecture was complex. So there was a sensible evolution to stay who you are, but in a modern way. It is like you are no longer 1927.
Right.
You are at that time was 2012. So that's the magic of visual. You have to fit how you look to who you are and who you intend to be seen as. And so it's not a science, it's art, and sometimes us as consultants, they do that. The management of the Ryder Cup, they could have said, yeah, I hear you, you want to be here. No, I want to be here. I want to be 2055 looking. And many times clients had not taken my recommendations. I wouldn't say many, but often enough to mention, and that is their decision. Was a good decision, a bad decision? I always say the client knows their business far more than you, consultant, will ever know. So don't be arrogant and tell them. You have to respect their knowledge of what they do and what plans they have. Sometimes there's a very charismatic chairman that stands behind this thing. If you're a certain Elon Musk, you do what you want with Tesla, because it is less, but it is Musk. If you are Steve Jobs, I work for Apple, and you stand by what it is. When Steve Jobs did in the Next, for example, he was his decision based with what Paul Rand gave him, which is a story that he said, this is my price, I'll give you one logo, no expiration, take it or leave it. If you leave it, you still give me $100,000. I don't want to know. So there are so many things that go into logos it is, whereas there's some science in branding, when you get to color visuals, and it is art as it relates to business needs.
So then we're almost to the last, we're at the last two sections in the course. And this is the one that I think people get really tripped up about. It's not fun, but it is rewarding. And if you create the right level of flexibility and the right level of guardrails, talk to us about brand governance.
So governance, you have created, you've done all of the above. Now you have to implement it, you have to control it, you have to manage, you have to tweak it if necessary. So you have to manage it. I call it governance as opposed to management, just because to me governance means more than management. In management, it's factual, it's granular. Governance has all of that, but it's got the philosophic aspect to it. The different ways to govern a brand according to how large your company is. You can have a brand council, and there's a C-level executives, the head of it. You can have the brand identity team that's more implementation oriented. So here you decide big things with the brand here, and then you decide the granular things here. So you can organize it in different ways. You have the notion of brand ambassadors, because once you have decided how you manage or govern the brand, you have to implement it. So notion of brand ambassadors, you choose 5 people, 20, 30, according to who you are, and send them in the field and teach people. Because the consultant by that time has stepped away. As consultant, we always make a proposal for that. 9 out of 10, the client said, thank you very much, I gave you enough money, just go away, I'll deal with it now. But we give them the tools, right? So different ways to do that. In terms of implementation, you can use the brand culture steps: inform, engage, and align. Also for brand management at large. When you get to brand management, you have lots of business and analytical things, trend settings, trend monitoring, and you have to make the course corrections and all of that. But certainly you have to manage it, and that is a big job. It's a big job, and I don't envy anybody in corporations to do that, because it's complicated, and you deal with a combination of realities, business environments, trends, which are guesses, people that you had to control and take this herd and let them move in one direction. So you have external agencies, right? That you give them the specs, they come back with work, and you have to say yes, no, maybe, or change it, or do that. In one region, you might have some course correction to be done here, but not here. It's extremely complicated, just like anything else in managing the business of an organization.
What makes a good brand governance practitioner, or brand steward, or brand manager? What are the 3-5 things or whatever that you think people need to
you
have in their back
mentioned 2 different
pocket?
things, because one is corporate led, and one you mentioned the steward and the stewarding of it. You're dealing with human beings, and so this brand ambassador, so this brand training needs to respect the individual, but needs to tell the individual, hey, look, I respect you. At the same time, you carry my business card. If the company doesn't succeed, you're going to lose your job, or you won't succeed. And so have the carrot and the stick to say the corporate interests are larger than the individual. And I know it sounds a bit Marxist in nature, but it is the way it is. It is an army, if you will, and so there is this. The army has an intent to succeed in the marketplace and to march in a certain way. So there should be a bit of a stick, but it's a lot of carrot in there. So being compassionate, being understanding, being flexible, those are the things that you need to be a brand manager.
Compassion, flexibility. What about the stick, Q?
The stick is, I gave you in a compassionate way the way to operate. If you deviate, you're damaging the brand.
The brand.
Right?
Got it.
And so
Got it.
you can't do that, and so there are consequences. Consequences is a big word. But
You will have
but that's
consequences.
the stick that people need to understand. Why I always insist that in the front of the famous manual, right, the identity manual, which nowadays can be done AI based or different way. It used to be this book, right? It's just manual. But I always insist that the first page of this book or guidelines is a letter from the chairman. People need to understand that these rules, and not because the graphic manager doesn't want blue or doesn't want that you do the logo in a certain way. No, it's larger than that. The head of the company has said this is important. You follow it. It's like in any organization that there's a way to operate, and brand-wise, these are the guidelines. And
So your last chapter in this course, and just to kind of give people an idea, this is, again, I mentioned it. It's not, let's get on some little course and you can take it in 3 hours. I mean, it's pretty heady. 15 hours thereabouts, that sort of
the
thing.
sessions are between 1.5 and 2.5 hours, and there are 10 sessions.
And then the last one is winning.
I call it winning because I didn't know how to call it, but what's it intended to be in the last session? It was that this is a business, so this is related mostly to the consultants in branding and less to the corporate client. In their sense of branding and winning, it means how can best brand contributes to my business success. And there are loads of different courses and lots of very much better people than me to deal with all that, the brand management from a business standpoint. This winning part was for the consultancies, somebody that works in a design firm or the like, and because it speaks about how to write a proposal, how to respond to an RFP, how to price, how to create timelines. And so those are all the elements that help you win a project. So you can have a design firm, so you can have a brand consultancy. Now, I don't intend to teach anyone. There's plenty of people that do branding and identity, and they operate successfully. So there's thousands of firms. So I'm not saying I'm teaching you how to do it, because you're doing it, you're getting paid. I'm just saying that there's a way to think a brand and to have particular focus and defend with a prospective client the importance of this brand platform of a given depth and the brand architecture component of it. And so I'm teaching you a way of thinking about it that can augment the way that you're already doing things. On certain parts, you may say, the way that I see mission, I like it better than what you say, the overlap of purpose and mission. And I don't have a problem with that. It's an opinion. I stand by my opinion. You have your ways. If it works for you, it's fine. But what's important is that once you know the way of thinking, you can adjust according to different clients. You get less dogmatic because you are more flexible, because you understand the context of all of these things. I think that this course will make you better. And I'm of an age that if I were 40, it would be more of an opinion. It's like, that's my way. Well, at my age, after 40 years in this business, it's really a combination. It's not even best practices, because I don't give you necessarily a worksheet. Fill this in and you'll be a great. There are courses that give you worksheets.
I know there are.
On purpose. I do have my ways, and I'll show you. But I'm trying to impart a way of thinking that by nature is flexible. It's actually flexible, because this is not math. This is not business, whatever, management. It's an art and a science. So a way of thinking about how to create the brand fundamentals. So it's critical to make you better, because you might come from design, you might come from MBA backgrounds, and so it wouldn't even be right to say this is the right way, because according to, maybe you sell, branding services on the basis of the business prowess. So you want to have numbers in your methodologies. Mine is less than that, and it's more on the soft side how conceptually brand can add business success. Then you will analyze that with whatever number of tables you
Sure.
want to have that have numbers on it. So I had some good successes so far from individuals, from corporation that has bought what I call the workshops. There are 1 week long workshop of anyone of this matters to solve given challenges they may have, and so I'm happy with how I shaped it and how I framed it. The website is fairly precise of what it is and what is not, so it might not be for everyone. There are other courses that might be better in some other ways or some other parts.
I think it's fascinating because it makes you truly, truly, truly think about branding in a way that is, in a way that delivers the gravitas that is appropriate for one of the most important assets that a business has. And you can tell me yes, no, but I just feel like there are a lot of ways to add value to your business, but depending on where you're at in the commercial kind of the commercialization journey, and we see companies that are not going to commercialize for 10 years. We see companies that have been selling millions of dollars of things for 100 years. Brand is the most, forgive me, delightful and exciting and colorful way to add value, in my opinion, but a hammer nail sort of situation. And to be able, but the only way that works is to think about it in those terms, in terms of how do you imbue value into your organization.
And, one important thing, for example, there's one course that says, here are worksheets and here are why brand is important, and whatever, so that if you have a design firm, you can start doing brand strategy. To me, branding it's like one of the few disciplines I had to believe. Even Mark Ritson says that 74% of marketing people have no business being in marketing.
I heard him say that in some interview.
Marketing Week, 3 weeks ago, and because there's no professionalism built in the marketing profession. I can say, in a sense, the same thing in branding, because everybody does branding, no matter who you are.
And personal branding.
Right? And so, and then
my
it's personal
friends
branding, because it's a fuzzy concept. And so, what I'm saying is, I don't agree with that course that said, I'll give you a worksheet so that you can do a brand strategist. It's like saying that anybody can be anybody, and I do that with my kids. So you can be whoever you want. This aspirational thing. But as a human being, you might be better at being an accountant than being at something else.
Yes.
So there's got to be some innate skills of the way that you're thinking that makes you great at something. So I don't intend with this course to turn anyone into a brand strategist. Like, I cannot be an accountant. I cannot be a business manager. I suppose I could figure it out. Certainly I wouldn't have a great career. That's why people choose the fields that they want to choose, because they have a natural inclination to something. So this is for my students or corporate or that have bought the course, is that they have that inclination. By understanding it better, they get better. Would somebody who has an MBA take this course and start being a brand strategist? Good luck.
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe.
if you want to buy it, you're welcome. I would say I don't think so, unless you have a natural curiosity. But it's not that simple. You have to think in a certain way, and it's not. So this is for the individuals who might be drawn to this kind of content. For the corporation, why they should they could have a benefit in this course for their people, the marketing department, say, for two reasons. One, to understand what it is once they have this brand, what to do with it. Right? And so to understand this underpinning, not because they might develop the brand themselves, maybe they hire somebody to do that. Maybe there's one person in this thing, or maybe the brand has grown organically, over the years. The other thing is, if they hire a big firm or an ad agencies, they'd be able to manage them better.
Absolutely.
If they have this conscious understanding of certain things. So way of thinking and understanding it is key to why I created this course the way I did. So if you're looking for this beautiful pages, this states why brand is important, go somewhere else. You can Google it. You find millions of pages on that. And I won't bother with that. So this course is on the brand fundamentals, how to create foundation of a brand. Then somebody else go out and sell it and manage it. And so I wanted to fence in this course within this conceptual basis. And that is not for everybody.
Well, I think it's exciting, and I think I disagree. I think it's for everybody that is charged with, spending their clients' money and time and resources to help shape something that could truly be valuable and could move the needle. I rarely disagree with you, Q, but I'm going to disagree with you in this particular point. I think everybody could benefit from this, and it would help me because I get really upset when people don't know what brand strategy is or what brand fundamentals are.
Can I give you one quick anecdote?
Yes.
When I sold my first company, when I left Interbrand the first time after we sold the company to Omnicom, the key reason why I left is because there was this transition from corporate identity to corporate branding, and I had these ideas of how this corporate brand flower had to be. I have that in the course. I drew this pyramid, right, from mission to that. And I look at that like 30 years later, and kind of accurate. I would say 90% is still accurate. But so I created these methodologies, and I created a second company which was called Brandly, and so I started trying to sell this newfangled corporate identity plus. And I was so convinced in my own philosophy, and I was promoting it, and God forbid that one person hired me. It was a software company in software security, in corporate security, digital nascent field, of course. At the time, there was the mid-90s, and so I was so excited they bought this program. I wrote the proposal, trying to put in words what it meant. It was different, it was new, and so I got this project, and then I was so excited, and then like an hour later, a day later, it dawns on me. It's like, damn, I had to do this now. I've never done that before. How? And so, that was a very painful moment. So I get, long story short, to the first presentation, and I do have this suggestion of a brand promise. And 3 words, 3.5. So there was an article in there. And my fear is that I'm going through this phase 1, and the interviews, and all the users on competition, and I said, I'm going to flash on the screen these 4 words, and what's going to happen? Are they going to tell me, excuse me, I 2 months, all these interviews, and all this money, that's it? That's what I get, these 4 words? Are you serious? I had this nightmare that is what's going to happen, because I've never done it before. I've done plenty of logo presentation, identities, and so I had the counters for people saying, "Oh, I hate that color," or "I hate that typeface," and I knew how to do that. But countering somebody that says, "What, 4 words? That's all I get?" And so I was terrified. I was terrified. And then I do this presentation, and the reaction of the client was like they loved it. And they wrote me a letter. The quote is on my website and on my LinkedIn profile and testimonials. They said, you came up with a perfect way to shape our offering a way that we would never have thought ourselves. The gentleman is still a friend of mine. He runs idealist.org.
Okay, talk to me about what is idealist.org.
This is
okay,
this
because
person was my client, the director. His name is Amidar. Please go to idealist.org and just sign up, contribute. There's a beautiful man, has a beautiful mission of this nonprofit is to make the world a better place. So, but long story short, so this phrase was for a security company, for the digital safety of an organization, and the phrase was securing the global village. So the word of it was securing was a kind of a new notion at the time. Globalization has started, so the global village, Hillary Clinton famously was using that. So in those 4 phrases, of the whole world was globalization, the importance of having a village, different cultures, and this and that and the other, and then securing all of it.
making it possible.
So the concept,
yes.
I'm so proud. It was my first ever brand promise development, and it was, it was successful. It was meaningful. It validated this idea that I had how to do a brand platform and brand promise, and so I was so excited. And it's not easy. That's why I'm saying it's not easy, because the sloganish way would have been security for your business, or avoid this and that. But it's no richness. It would have been a verbal spin on the reality of the business. This went above and beyond, or deeper into the core of the organization. That's its real branding, a real brand promise. And unfortunately, I see a lot of brand promises of the sloganish type that, what do you do with it? And yeah, you had to shine it up. You had to promote, add color and messages, but it's no depth to the concept itself. Is that for everybody? Can everybody do that? No. I can do that because I have that ability. I don't know how to do 100,000 other things that other people are great at. So that's why I'm saying I don't intend to turn everyone into a brand strategist, or you might be a brand
But if you have
strategist.
potential, then you're going to be a much better one if you take this course.
Or maybe there are certain things that you do
Yes.
in branding that don't involve the core of the brand platform, but maybe you can be a great brand architecture translator. Absolutely, so each one of us has his or her own strengths, and so
Okay, real quick, I want you to tell me 3 to 5 of your favorite brands that you helped craft or shape. It doesn't have to be-
that I worked with.
Yes, that you helped craft or shape, and we can talk another time about why, but I want to just pop.
Intel, the transition from inside your computer to inside your life. So the expansion of the value of this company toward your life, and not only to make your computer work better. That transition was fascinating and involved brand positioning, and involved brand architecture, because of all the various components of the proposition, because it was the ecosystem, software developers. And so Intel is a champion of a whole movement, which was social in nature. I have more than 4 or 5, but let me extract 4 or 5. Xerox was fascinating because it was one of those legacy brands that you are the copier company, and how do you extract yourself from it? And there, the basic foundation of my thinking was, don't fight it. You cannot fight it. You're gonna lose. And so operate, and then little by little, so brand-wise set this path, then walk that path, and one day you get there. Veuve Clicquot was a great client, and there the point was, at that point, was a further invasion into the American market, in fact. And so the point there, brand-wise, was to separate Clicquot, the company, from Veuve Clicquot, the product, and then use that as some kind of a context for other products that the company were making. Verizon was a great client because it involved, it was in brand architecture, the simplification of these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different things, from products to website, and then slimming it down to a manageable set. And I would say the Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup was great. I worked on other, big global sporting events. The Ryder Cup is because golf is special with respect to the nature of the sport. It's like it's different than soccer, which is more populous-like, and I'm a big fan of soccer. Tennis is like restricted. Golf is elitist, but it's not at the same time, because it deals with the land. So there's an aspect of the care of this golf course, the greens, and there's so many dimensions to it. And this competition, these people, these millionaires, golfers, they participate in the Ryder Cup. There is no prize money. They don't get paid. They get paid by the sponsor. That's a different story. But the competition is for the glory. So tell me another sport and competition in this day and age that you play for the glory. So that aspect then dictated the type of brand positioning. The graphics was a cleanup, as I said. But the really legendary experience, this where legends are forged, was the tagline. And then they're playing in 3 weeks near where I live, in Long Island, in New York. And every 2 years I post the story of the project, and it's on my LinkedIn page, and I always get lots of messages because people see this big competition, and so I tell a little bit of the inside story of the development of it, and my visits at this Gleneagles in Scotland and Wentworth, and how the whole thing came about. And so that was very gratifying. And then, as I said in the story, seeing your logo on Tiger Woods, you tell me if there's anything more satisfying than that.
Well, listen, Q, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure, and so I'm gonna dig through these, and I'm gonna take the course myself, and so we're gonna have a follow-up pretty soon, and then you can quiz me on all of these things, and I'm so excited to be in the presence of grace. Greatness.
I love talking about that above and beyond the course, because it's like I had a long career, so this is something. It's a way also to share a little bit. Branding has changed so much, so there are certain things that I believe have been forgotten. Some good ways of thinking about it that have been forgotten for several years. So it's also my way to bring back some things that I think are more relevant. I wrote a funny story on LinkedIn because I was so fed up with all the Cracker Barrel thing. And I said, I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to travel 100 years into the future, and I report back next week of what I see of the state of branding. And then a week later, I wrote this story from the future, and where, in many different ways, they had uncovered, by doing a dig, they had uncovered my old computer with the course on the screen. And so the picture has this pebbles, and it was just unearthed. And I said, I'm glad that it's still alive. This. So.
Well, great.
That's for fun.
Well, thank you all for joining us. And if you would like to get a hold of Q or learn a little bit more about his course, how do folks connect with you?
Masterbranded.com.
Masterbranded.com.
Has the course curriculum. It's got some information. You can contact me. You can email me. There's a button there. And
What
it's
about LinkedIn?
organized, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's
Quirino.
Quirino. But since how do I explain that? You'll see that it's got a Q and then open parentheses, UIRINO, close parentheses, and that Malandrino. And the reason is because I have 2 other Creole Malandrino in the world. And so if you Google it, you probably find me first, but you also might find one of my cousins. So anyway, long story. But if you go to masterbrandy.com, it's easy because it's got the link to LinkedIn, it's got my resume, if you will, it's got the course, and so there are links to everything else. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you so very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.